Rodgers despite interest from Rodgers because they believe they have a roster that can win a Super Bowl over the next 3 years. And to do so, they have a quarterback now on a rookie-scale contract to build around. So McCarthy needs to show some glimmers of hope. He doesn't have to be a hero yet. He was getting better late in OTAs and minicamp. They want to see that momentum shine early in camp. And you got Trey Hendrickson. So this is a sticky situation with Hendrickson and the Bengals. They have been talking. That is a good sign. There is some hope, at least some level of hope, they can try to reach a deal by training camp. If not, I am told that Hendrickson has been dug in. Look, he's trying to follow his own words that he would not be there for training camp to start if there is no new deal in place. This is a player who, despite being 30 years old, wants a contract commensurate with his skill set, but also he wants a longer-term deal. He wants the security of multiple years. We'll see if the Bengals can oblige there. And then lastly, I'm going to go to the Cleveland Browns. This is fascinating. One of the biggest storylines of the league. What are the Browns going to do at quarterback? They got Joe Flacco. I expect him to be well-positioned in that hierarchy, that pecking order that they set up early in camp. But then you have the two rookies. I'm told Shedeur Sanders acquitted himself well in OTAs and minicamp. He was throwing with aggressiveness. He was testing the defense. But he was also going against mostly third-team defenses, not a lot of pass rush, seven-man defense. Like, he's got a long ways to go. So really, any conversation with the Browns quarterback future should involve 2026, where they have 2 first-round picks and a loaded quarterback draft. So they could be looking to the future here. But in the meantime, they got to figure out something.
In the meantime, they have an absolutely fascinating jumble at quarterback. EJ, when you look at this situation in Cleveland with the quarterbacks, what goes through your head?
Glasses fogging up as soon as you step out of the AC, driving in a non-AC car and drowning in sweat. Meet your summer savior, the portable air cooler. Cool your home, room, or car in a flash. Easy setup, add water, press 2 buttons. Ultra portable, perfect for indoors, outdoors, or on the go. With a 2-day battery life, it's your ticket to nonstop cooling. Don't suffer this summer. Buy now.
Well, from a player's perspective, and usually in a quarterback room, you have roles, right? You have your older veteran like a Joe Flacco. You have your starter. We don't know who that's going to be. I don't think Coach Stefanski knows who that's going to be. And then you'll have your young guys. Now, obviously, you have 2 young guys in Shedeur Sanders and Dylan Gabriel. So I'm assuming one of them is maybe trade capital at some point. And then you still have Deshaun Watson, who's returning at some point as well. I don't know if it's this season or the following season, rehabbing, but I've heard he's a coach in the room right now. To me, this just looks like another issue for the Browns. And if you're trying to compete in this division where you have Joe Burrow, you have Lamar Jackson, obviously Aaron Rodgers with the Pittsburgh Steelers, you need to know who your quarterback is at this point. Like, you can't go into training camp saying, all right, well, we're just going to roll the ball out there and figure out who the best guy is based off of preseason. You need to have a pecking order. This team needs to know who the leader is. And at this point in the offseason, I'm just not really liking where the Browns are because of the quarterback conundrum. Again, maybe they try to use the young guys as draft capital, but I don't know. And look, 2026 draft, Jeremy's right. A bunch of potential first-round picks, maybe 4 or 5 guys who could be first-rounders. I just don't understand why you draft 2 quarterbacks in this draft.
Yeah, for me, it's about competition. And look, I agree. Next year's draft is loaded with quarterbacks. I think you start Joe Flacco, great bridge quarterback. We know how difficult this Browns schedule is to start, but I think their future could be Shedeur Sanders. Dylan Gabriel was an unbelievable college player, 64 starts, over 18,000 yards. But the list of sub-6-foot quarterbacks that have won the Super Bowl is very short. We can talk to Drew Brees. Very few exceptions to that. So to me, Shedeur Sanders should be given a chance at some point to try to be the future. And if he is, great. If not, as you guys alluded to, they got 2 first-rounders. If Jacksonville stumbles this year, it could be a very high first-round pick next year.
Yeah, in Jacksonville, it often is. EJ, if you had your choice, how would you set it up if you're the Browns? Like, who should be their starter at this point?
Yeah, so I would start the season with a Joe Flacco or Kenny Pickett, one of the 2, because they're veterans. And I would then keep Shedeur Sanders, try to trade Dylan Gabriel, especially if he plays well in the preseason, to build up some of that draft capital, because there's going to be other teams that need a backup. Guys get hurt all the time. But I do believe Shedeur Sanders can be the future there. It's just a matter of why bring all these guys in? I mean, as far as bringing in the different roles, that's my question. You have veterans, you have young guys, and then you still have Deshaun, who you owe a bunch of money to as well, so you're not sure what they're going to do with him. But ultimately, I would try to move forward with Shedeur and try to develop him and let him be your future.
Yeah, Dan, to that point, there are 5 quarterbacks in the Browns quarterback room. You have 4 that are healthy with the 2 rookies, and then you have Deshaun Watson, who's not healthy, but he's been, from what I'm told, really a coach in the room. They're breaking down Deshaun Watson's old tape with the Browns to teach these rookies what to do. And there's a possibility that Watson's healthy later in the year and could play, but but they've all but admitted publicly that this has been a mistake. So that is an extra layer here we got to account for.
Yeah, game tape of Deshaun Watson with the Browns, at least it's not going to take a whole lot of time to watch all of that. Let's move on and talk some basics. Very serious. Jeremy, what do you want to say about Mike Tomlin?
Dan, it would take a colossal meltdown for Mike Tomlin to face any sort of real pressure. I know they made a bunch of splash moves. The expectations are heightened, but meltdowns are just something that Mike Tomlin doesn't do. He's allergic to them. Every year, winning season, longest tenured coach in the NFL, and he is a catalyst for why Aaron Rodgers is in Pittsburgh right now. He wants to play for Mike Tomlin. They want to see that through.
Mike T, how much pressure is on Mike T in Pittsburgh this year?
Look, there's significant pressure on him, but there is every year. I think what's interesting is how does he manage so many players over 30? Think about Aaron Rodgers, Cam Hayward, T.J. Watt, Darius Slade, Jalen Ramsey. He's the right guy to manage it, but they have to be ready to go for September. So I'm going to be interested because he usually has a very competitive camp. Does he maybe pare back on that just a little bit?
EJ, what do you think about Mike Tomlin when you look ahead to this Steelers season? Big year for him?
Yeah, it's a huge year for Mike Tomlin. I'll say this, Aaron Rodgers is going to help Mike Tomlin and the Steelers team deliver their first victory in the playoffs since 2016. And the big reason is the mesh with Arthur Smith is now the play caller there with Aaron Rodgers. When you look at Aaron in his tenure as an NFL quarterback, under center play action passes is when he plays his best football. In the past 5 seasons, he has a 55 to 5 touchdown to interception ratio. You look at that with Jonnu Smith adding to that offense as a tight end and a receiver. I'm expecting to win in the first round of the playoffs for the Steelers with Aaron Rodgers.
It's interesting because it's been a long time since Aaron Rodgers or the Steelers has won a playoff game. Do you agree with EJ that he is set up for success in Pittsburgh this year?
I do. The 2 tight end sets has a chance to be lethal for Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers offense. Acquiring Jonnu Smith, who was one of the best in yards after catch last year. Got a great stat from my guy Hembo. Aaron Rodgers was operating at about 25% or more on 2 tight end sets during his 4 MVP seasons. So he's comfortable with that. He's in a situation where he doesn't have to be the hero. The questions are around the league, really, will he acquiesce to Arthur Smith? And, will he run the Aaron Rodgers system or will they run Smith's system? My sense is that he's going to be able to be the guy maybe 3 or 4 plays a game. He can put the cape on and be the hero. But for the most part, he is a game manager at this stage in his career.
Look, when you sign somebody in June, there is no acquiescing. You are adapting. This is the offense that we've been installing. This is what everybody's been working through all spring and going back last year with Arthur Smith. I do think that Jonnu Smith is a good sort of addition, as Jeremy alluded to, but I think Caleb Johnson, as we talked about, 3rd round pick out of Iowa, if they could get the run game going for a 42-year-old quarterback, that'll be his best friend.
Arthur Smith wants to get that run game going. We got one more statement of steel. What do you got on T.J. Watt?
Let's go. Let's get this deal done. There's been plenty of negotiations. You don't do everything you've done from DK Metcalf, Aaron Rodgers, everything we talked about, and not sign a homegrown Hall of Fame first ballot player in T.J. Watt. And I'm not sure what we're waiting for. We know Trey Hendrickson's dealing with his contract in Cincinnati. We know Michael Parsons is dealing with his contract with Dallas. So if I'm Pittsburgh, I'm going right now. The day I make that Jalen Ramsey trade, I'm calling up T.J.